Good afternoon. Haven't said that in a minute. Good afternoon, good evening. Beautiful people. How are we doing? Happy Friday. Happy freaking Friday. Made it to the end of the week. So, little did you know I was going to come on here for a little 17-day streak of messages. Not a little morning message, but maybe something to go into your weekend with. So, so my afternoon, evening, freaking Friday message, like the sound of that, is going to be about impressions and how we see ourselves. So, let's get into it. Okie dokie, artichoke. I'm going to read my Friday reminder message because I've been really enjoying framing it like this, reading that message, speaking a little bit about it, and capping it with something that you can actually hopefully serve you and use it in your life. So let's hop into it. Alrighty, so you ever just smile just for no reason? Because actually writing this and reading this right now just making me smile because there's a punchline that I can't wait to read. So it goes something like this. Impressions in changing how we see ourselves. When you first meet someone, externally, you see them for who they are in this very moment, quite literally. Based on several different variables, you get an instinctual impression of who this person is. You don't know their past, you may not know their age, you may not know their occupation, you may not know their current and past struggles, and you may not know their current and past triumphs. What you see is quite literally what you get. Now, imagine if this was you meeting yourself for the first time. Would your impression of yourself be how you see yourself? Or would it be different? Oftentimes we tend to live in a shell of our former selves, identifying with past successes, traumas, compliments, judgments, and we tend to lose sight of the person we are today, in the present moment, right now. This way of seeing ourselves is especially limiting and prevents us from growing and actualizing our potential. When you can view yourself in the moment, and you're not ashamed of who you are, what life made you, what you helped life make you, you can start living your life. Validating yourself and being willing to look externally odd or different in the process of being yourself is one of the most attractive and freeing feelings in the world. Let's choose to see ourselves in this way more often. So, the impetus and inspiration for this message has actually been inspired and came from a couple different angles and viewpoints and experiences for myself. And so, one thing that I was thinking about was that I've kind of had a conversation with my friends before is that I've always had this admiration for actors in a way because really their job is to be anyone they want to be, right? That is their occupation is to almost believe that they can be anyone that they want to be if they really choose. Well, I guess let me back it up a little bit. So I guess I'll start off by saying, first impression, right? If you were to meet anyone for the very first time, as I mentioned in my caption, you literally what you see physically is what you get with someone, right? I mean, you could, without even them telling you, you might be able to put an age on them, like physically how they look, right? You might get this instinctual impression, as I mentioned, about them, right? You get this vibe, quote unquote vibe, about a person whenever you first meet them. And I would say most people, my impression of most people is a good impression. Maybe that's my outlook on humanity, but any person I meet, I'm like, oh, give them the benefit of the doubt. Here's my trust. You look amazing. You are the best person, if you were to, meet anyone, for the most part. But I think what's actually interesting and unique is imagining yourself if you were to meet yourself. You were to be getting that first impression of yourself if you were to externally meet someone. Walk out and be like, oh, it's Connor. Oh, hi, my name's Connor. It's weird to say, but imagine. And so the point of my reminder post caption today was getting at comparing these two impressions, almost, if you will, or ways of thinking about ourselves. So comparing the impression that you might get if you were to physically externally meet you for the first time, and comparing that to actually how you think about yourself currently in the present moment, and then seeing if they are the same or how they might be different. And I think ultimately the punchline is that they should be the same, right? They should be identical, especially if you look out, if your outlook, I mean, if I see how I'm first meeting someone, anyone, especially if like I were to meet myself for the first time and like I didn't know who I was, like, oh, nice to meet you. What's your name? My name's Connor Trott. Nice to meet you. Like, oh, you look like a good dude. Taking all my ego out of it, but you know, if I were to meet anyone random, I would say that. Like, that should be the exact same as far as like how you view yourself. And where I think it sometimes we can find ourselves astray in those not being identical is whenever we begin to really like look back on our past or identify with our past, like successes, failures, compliments, judgments that we've received, and then start to really think that's like who we are, right? And so the way we kind of get out of that way of thinking about ourselves, whether it can be, you know, it could be good, it could be bad. I think it's just a method that we people choose to use to really like find an identity and like, oh, I am this person who did this in my past, or I received this criticism when I was in the past, so that's me. So I'm going to prevent myself from doing certain things or pursuing certain opportunities or careers, you know, or whatnot. So this leads into the very end of the caption, which is the punchline of the whole message, if you will, where I say, and the point of that impression, I guess, or the way of thinking about ourselves is that, you know, sometimes it might be scary to actually be honest and look ourselves in the mirror and be like, this is who I am. But the whole point of it is, you know, when you can view yourself in the moment and you fully accept who you are and you're not ashamed of who that person is, like looking back at you in the mirror. You're not ashamed of what life made you, is what I say. You fully accept who you are with where you're at in the moment, and you're just honest with yourself, and you accept everything that is about you, all the good that, you know, all the bad that comes with the good. You just accept everything, and you're not ashamed of any of it. And then just to continue off of that whole accepting piece, like you have to accept what you are not before you can fix it. And that comes with being honest with yourself. Like when you look at yourself in the mirror, you have to say, you know, I know this was me before. I was said, Connor, you're not confident. You're insecure and you need to fix that. And that was me being honest with myself and looking at me and like, dude, you are, you know, you're an insecure dude and you're not very confident. And I'd look at myself and I'm like, you know what, you're right. Like you are right. Like, I guess it was scary to say that or to myself, right? And like realize that. I'm like, okay, we got to start doing things to like change this and fix this. And I think when you can like accept certain things that you're not, then like nothing can really hurt you, right? That begins the point in which you can start to fix whatever it is that you see is wrong with you. And you know, maybe there's certain things that you just accept are wrong with you and you don't think they need to be fixed. That's totally, you know, it's totally subjective and personal to you. But for me, this was something I needed to fix. And we're fixing it day by day. We're working at it. So a lot of these problems that we may identify with based off of failures or judgments or whatever we received in the past, like they're not permanent problems. Like these are not permanent issues. Like these are temporarily situations almost that you actually have the power to turn them from being a temporary thing into a permanent thing, but in both ways, right? For good and for bad. So ideally we're always just temporary versions of ourselves. And when you can be willing to accept who you are, not be ashamed of who you are, and be able to validate yourself and Be willing to look externally odd or different when it comes to everyone else in the process of being yourself. That is the most attractive quality. That is the most freeing feeling in this entire world. So that is my little 2 cents on today's message. Let's choose to see ourselves in this way more often and have the best freaking Friday and best freaking weekend of our entire lives. So I will see you guys soon, and yeah, love you always. Peace.